All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks, my weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. We've only got 14 games this weekend. Of course, one game was last night. I picked the Rams to hold serve at home against the San Francisco 49ers, but clearly Mac Jones and the guys from Northern California had something different to say about that. Nonetheless, we've got 12 good games on tap for this Sunday as well as the Monday night affair. And with that said, here are my picks for week number 5 in this NFL season. Now, we get things kicked off on Sunday morning. Still in Europe, but this time in London. As you have the Minnesota Vikings, who are playing their second consecutive game in Europe, taking on the Cleveland Browns. And of course, for the Vikings, things did not go as planned last Sunday as they fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Germany. This time around, they want to try their luck in England, and they want to do so against the Cleveland Browns. And for the Cleveland Browns, they are starting a rookie quarterback, and I'm talking about their third round pick in Dylan Gabriel. Now, we got to see what the young lefty is going to be able to give the Browns offense as they are clearly in need of a spark. Defensively, the Browns are going to play hard under defensive coordinator Greg Williams. You know that. And the Vikings have to find a way to slow down all world defensive end Myles Garrett. For Minnesota, I will say this: they have a veteran at quarterback in Carson Wentz, kind of a guy who's kind of been there and done that in the NFL. And the bottom line is for Carson Wentz, just get the ball to the playmakers, a la Justin Jefferson, and let him do his thing. The Vikings come into this contest favored by 3.5. I like them by 6, 23-17. Now, you've got the 3-1 Indianapolis Colts hosting the 1-3 Vegas Raiders. And for Indy, they're looking to get back on track as they let one slip through their grasp last Sunday on the road against the Rams. For the Raiders, what can you say? They're 1-3, and they have some issues. They can't stop the run, and they have a quarterback who has been giving the football away. Well, this is Pete Carroll's first year as the head coach of the Raiders, and I think he will get the ship righted at some point. The Raiders are going to play hard. The Colts are going to play hard as well because they want to try to get back on track. But like I said, the Raiders have issues running the football. I like the Colts offense with Jonathan Taylor to have a big time impact in this one. Thus, I'm going to take Indianapolis at home 23-20. Now, down in the Bayou, you've got the winless New Orleans Saints welcoming the 1-3 New York Football Giants to town. And for the Giants, we just saw them get their first win of the season last week against the Chargers, and they want to try to find a way to build off of that. However, New York comes into this game as 2.5 point underdogs over the winless Saints. Um, we saw the Saints be competitive last week on the road against the Buffalo Bills, but they have to find a way to put it together for 2 consecutive weeks. Now, for Spencer Rattler, the up and down quarterback for the Saints, what's he going to do against this Giants defense? One thing that we have seen defensively from the Giants so far this season, they cannot stop the run. So I think it's going to be important for New Orleans to get their run game going. But the Giants' pass rush is getting better and better as the season progresses. And if it's second and long and third and long for this New Orleans offense, advantage New York. We saw Jaxson Dart make his first start of his NFL career last week. It wasn't great, okay, but it's something for the Giants to build off of. More importantly, he didn't turn the ball over and he gave this team a chance to win. I like the Giants' running game with the likes of rookie running back Cam Scatterboo, but now New York has to try to do it in their passing game without Malik Neighbors, who is one of the young dynamic receivers in the NFL. You can't replace a guy like Malik Neighbors if you're the Giants, but I think what this does, this is going to make Jaxson Dart as a young quarterback not focus on one guy so much and try to get that football spread around. Like I said, the Saints come into this contest favored by 2.5 points. I think the first team to 20 wins, and I think the Giants get it done, 20-16. Now the Giants co-tenants at MetLife Stadium, the New York Jets, they're winless and they're welcoming the 1-2-1 Dallas Cowboys to town. And it's been up and down, if you want to say that, for the Jets. Why? Because they have one week, they're very competitive. Then they have another week, they don't look good. And, it's kind of a theme, if you will, for the Jets at this point. And they need to try to find a way to put a full game together. One of the biggest things for the Jets so far this season, they're beating themselves with the penalties. The Jets nearly have 40 penalties through 4 games. That's not going to get it done. Of course, now no Braylon Allen for a good chunk of the season for New York, which means that the run game is going to center more around Breece Hall. I'll tell you like this with the Jets offense. The Jets offense has the potential to make some big plays against this Cowboys defense because their secondary is horrendous. Also, one thing for me with Dallas defensively, at least, or as a team, Dallas has now played 2 overtime games in their first 4 games of the season. Not only that, because they're coming off of a tie with the Packers at home on Sunday night. Also, both of those games have gone deep into the overtime period. So if you're the Jets, you've got to find a way to take advantage of that. The Jets' defense has not been playing well this season either, and I think this would be the perfect game for them to try to get things turned around against the Dallas Cowboys, which is going to be easier said than done. I think what the Jets have to do in this one, because they're a slight underdog in this one. New York is a 1.5 point underdog to Dallas. The Jets got to go out there and make some big plays early, whether it's special teams, whether it's on offense, whether it's on defense. They've got to get the home crowd behind them in this game. Aaron Glenn, the Jets' young head coach, is going to try to will this team to the victory. Will the Jets answer the bell? I think in this one they do, and I like New York 27-24. Now, right down the road from MetLife Stadium in the city of brotherly love, you've got the undefeated Super Bowl champion, defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles hosting the 2-2 Denver Broncos. Both of these teams were playoff teams last year. Both of them have designs on getting back to the playoffs. And there are some people that think both of them have what it takes to win the Super Bowl this year. I'll tell you like this for Denver. They've got the D. Okay, they have to get their offense more consistent, and it starts with their second-year quarterback, Bo Nix. Of course, teams have game film on Bo Nix right now. Okay, not only that, Bo Nix, like I feel like he's got to shed that gunslinger mentality, if you will. On the flip side for Philadelphia, they have not played their best football, but they're still 4-0, and in the process, they're taking every opponent's best punch. I like both defenses in this game. I like the D coordinators, Vance Joseph for Denver, and then, of course, Vic Fangio for Philadelphia. I think this game right here comes down to field position and special teams. I'm going to give the edge to Philadelphia at home in this one, 27-23. Now, in a battle of 1-3 teams, you have the Miami Dolphins traveling to Charlotte to take on the Carolina Panthers. And of course, for Miami, they got their first win of the season last week on Monday night over the Jets. But of course, it was a costly one as they've lost the services of wide receiver Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. So I want to see how this Dolphins offense looks. And you can expect Jalen Waddle's productivity to go up. So for all of you fantasy buffs out there, expect a big day from Mr. Waddle. For Carolina, they look like a different team at home in comparison to being on the road. A couple of weeks ago, they got their only win of the season. We saw them shut out and blow out the Atlanta Falcons, but they themselves got blown out last Sunday in Foxborough, courtesy of the New England Patriots. The Panthers are a young team trying to get it together, trying to get some consistency under their belts. And I think this is a good opportunity for them to get some here. I like Carolina at home, 27-20. Now, if you had told me before this season that both heading into this matchup, both the Houston Texans and Baltimore Ravens would be 1-3, I look at you like you were crazy because I don't think too many people had that on their bingo cards. Two playoff teams from last year, two division winners from last year, two teams that are expected to be back in the postseason this year. But of course, each of them has gotten off to a slow start. And for the Ravens, they're going to have to do it now without their MVP at quarterback and Lamar Jackson, as he's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks with that hamstring injury. So enter former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Cooper Rush. I think this Texans defense is definitely going to try to test young Mr. Rush. And how do you do that? Well, try to take away and try to slow down running back Derrick Henry and try to make Cooper Rush beat you. On the flip side for the Ravens have had problems stopping people all season long, but the Houston offense is really nothing to write home about. Something's got to give in this one. I think the difference in this game right here is going to be the defense of the Texans, and that's why I like Houston to go on the road and get the 20-17 win. Now in the desert, you've got the winless Tennessee Titans traveling to take on the 2-2 Arizona Cardinals. And for Arizona, they should be well rested coming into this game. They played last Thursday night as they lost on at home in overtime to the Seattle Seahawks. But nonetheless, you look at this Titans team. They're still trying to figure it out with quarterback Cam Ward, but it's easier said than done, as this is going to be another long year in Nashville. The Cardinals are dealing with a couple of injuries, but the perfect elixir for them to deal with that right now is welcoming the Titans to town. Arizona comes into this game favored by 7.5. I like the Bird Gang by 10 in this one, 30-20. Now in the Pacific Northwest, you've got the 3-1 Seattle Seahawks set to host the 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in what could be a battle of arguably the two best throwback jerseys in the National Football League. The Bucs tasted defeat last Sunday for the first time this season. Of course, they don't want to make it two in a row. How do they do that, you ask? Well, I think against the Seattle defense, you can't settle for threes. You've got to get sevens. Baker Mayfield has to protect the football, and that's easier said than done because Baker Mayfield is a gunslinger at heart. Okay, so it's something that if you're Tampa Bay, you got to deal with. But nonetheless, you've got a couple of quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, that were with the Carolina Panthers a couple of years ago, and they found new life in the National Football League. And on top of that, they each are throwing to some young and talented receivers from Ohio State University, Jackson Smith and Jangba for Seattle, and of course the rookie Emeka Egbuka for Tampa Bay. This has the makings to be arguably the best game of the day, in my opinion. Seattle comes in favored by 3.5. I think it's going to be closer than that, but I still like the Seahawks at home, 24-23. Now you've got the 3-1 Detroit Lions traveling to take on the 2-2 Cincinnati Bengals, and of course, Cincinnati at this point they are simply trying to hold on. No Joe Burrow, and week by week they're looking worse and worse. We saw them get blown out 2 weeks ago by the Vikings. Last Monday night, it was the Denver Broncos, and things simply seem to be coming apart. And on the flip side, things seem to be coming together for the Detroit Lions, as I think they're ready to get on a roll. The Lions come into this game favored by 9.5 points. I like them by 2 touchdowns in this one, 30-16. Now, you've got the Washington Commanders traveling west to take on the 3-1 Los Angeles Chargers. And for the Chargers, they suffered defeat last week for the first time this year in an upset loss on the road against the New York Football Giants. And I think the biggest thing for me with the Chargers, they simply look like all we had to do was show up and we're going to win. And it does not work like that in the National Football League. So I want to see how the Chargers respond from that shocking loss to the Giants last week. On the flip side for the Commanders, they are expected to get quarterback Jaden Daniels back. However, Terry McLaurin, their Pro Bowl wide receivers, out, and also Deebo Samuel is dealing with some injuries as well. I think the return of Jaden Daniels is going to help this Commanders offense, but I don't think it's going to be enough against the Chargers. I like the Lightning Bolts 27-23. Now on Sunday night, you've got the 4-0 Buffalo Bills hosting the 2-2 New England Patriots. And it's hard to believe, but it actually is true. At this point, you could say that the Patriots are the de facto second best team in the AFC East right now. But of course, The Bills are the king of the frat house. And if you're New England, you have to find a way to overtake them. I think the Patriots will give a very spirited effort for head coach Mike Vrabel. Drake May is getting comfortable very quickly as far as being the franchise quarterback for the New England Patriots. But again, Josh Allen and company, they're the kings of the mountain. I like it to stay that way in this one. And I'm going to take Buffalo at home 30-17. And finally on Monday night, you've got the Kansas City Chiefs with a record of 2-2 traveling to take on the 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. And of course, KC started the season in an 0-2 hole. They're trying to get out of it and get over 500 for the first time this season. Jacksonville's 3-1, but there's a lot of people who still do not believe in them. I think the keys for this game is, what is Jacksonville's offense going to do against this Kansas City defense? Trevor Lawrence has protected the football better this year than he has in years past. That's going to be tested this week against this Kansas City defense. And of course, when you face the Chiefs, you can't settle for field goals. I keep saying that all the time. If you're Jacksonville, you have to be prodigious with the football and take advantage of your opportunities. But on the flip side, you've got that guy at quarterback for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Looked comfortable last week against the Ravens as they got the big win, and I think they build off of that in this one. I like Kansas City 27-20. So, folks, those are my picks for this weekend in the world of the NFL. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And folks, I can't emphasize it enough. We're knocking on the door of 1,000 subscribers. Your support is always appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I will give you that follow in return. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you are on Facebook, be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.